Boobies!
Boobies! And hello. Hi.
How are you today?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm here.
We're here. We showed up.
I feel very crispy.
And where'd we show up to?
To Rogue Media Network. Oh, to Boobies.
Boobies.
Podcast.
You know, both are true. Both are true. We are in the lovely Rogue Media
We
Network
showed up
studios.
to the
We
table.
are here to talk about horror movies, you guys, because this
That's
is
right.
Boobies, and I am Joshua, and
I am Caitlin.
yes.
And we're your hosts. And we're here to talk about all the things
We're excited,
that
right?
you would want to. Yes.
Because what are we doing? It's summer-timey outside, and like you said, it was very
Can't be.
hot when you walked in.
Yes. Oh my
It's
God.
extremely hot today. I think actually we have like a power grid warning or something like today.
Oh, shit. That one
had to,
surprised me.
Make sure that they were like conserve energy because it's so hot, and obviously everybody's running, I guess, their aircon and electricity. But like
My AC when
There
I
was a
got
warning
home
and
was
my
at
all shut down.
86. And I was
Ah.
like, no.
that's hot.
So I turned that motherfucker down.
That's
so
way
I am
too hot.
not, I mean, it's been on 86 all day. So I feel like I'm allowed to make it lower now
Yeah.
I
think you
conserved. for 9 hours.
I didn't. It was on full blast. It was hot.
I literally, I got home and took a shower after teaching and was like
Mhm.
drenched after my
bet.
shower. I put
And
on my
that's not
shirt
a-
when I got
that's-
here.
I hate that feeling of like when you're like your clothes are wet, even like
Mhm.
because you've been sweating that much, like and it
Yeah.
just feels gross,
That's how
all
I feel.
damp.
Nice
Well,
and damp.
To
Anyways,
begin our lovely horror summer bash, we're
you know
gonna be
who else is damp?
Ooh,
Jason, because he's been in the
he
bottom
is
of the
damp
pond.
this whole time, and that is our lovely segue into what we're covering today. We are going to be covering Friday the 13th,
The OG.
the original, not the 2009 remake, I believe is what it is.
And
'cause
what year was this from, Joshua?
It's 1980.
Okay.
1980.
I was like, that's what I wrote down, but I don't trust myself.
No, it's okay. It is 1980. It was released 2 weeks before The Shining, actually.
Oh.
2 weeks right before The Shining.
Wow.
And it ended up making more money than The Shining did, just in its opening weekend.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Because, well, no, The Shining was
Well, yeah.
so good.
But I think also too, especially with like the creation of Friday, like this whole film, I think it really had a really great marketing system scheme. I don't know how to marketing
Yeah.
plan
I read that they started like marketing and putting clips
before
out.
it was made.
Yeah, before it even had financing.
Yeah, literally.
Like, they're
before
like,
it was
we
even-
don't know if we can make this movie, but we're gonna.
The
periodically.
guy who came up with it, he put it like an ad in like some paper or magazine, like months before it even was greenlit to go,
That's
and called it
so
the scariest
wild.
film ever made.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Wow. Way to hype yourself up.
Yeah, he really only had the idea of the title because he just really loved Friday the 13th
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of made that like. And honestly, that even kind of necessarily doesn't even have too much to do with the movie. It's just that it happens to happen on that day.
On a Friday the 13th.
Yeah, mhm.
And I was talking with Mike before this. I believe it was actually released on a
On
Friday, the 13th.
That's
Yeah.
perfect.
Said it was May 9th, I think, 1980. But I didn't do enough research to see if that actually was Friday the 13th.
But wouldn't the
'Cause I'm
13th be a
lazy.
13th?
Oh
and
my
not a
God,
9th?
yeah. You're so right. I'm a fucking dumbass bitch. What is wrong with me?
I'm like over here sitting
Oh my
so
God.
confused. I was like, wait a minute.
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't know if that math's
So it
right.
was released on May 9th.
May 9th?
Well,
Okay,
that's a
but
really missed opportunity.
Maybe it was right before a 13th. Like they couldn't get
Yeah.
it like directly on.
Ooh, so they just wanted, well,
but
I want you to
mean,
be scared on Friday. They really should have just waited.
that was a missed opportunity, to be honest.
I guess maybe they were like, we got to get a one up on The Shining.
And that probably could have been something to do with it. Maybe the next Friday the 13th wasn't until like 3 or 4 months late.
Yeah.
But honestly though, May for a horror movie, huh?
Yeah, that's kind of an odd choice. But,
But
I
I
will
feel like
say,
that happens. The Shining came out 2 weeks later, so hey.
yeah, and a lot of like somewhat good looking horror films have been coming out.
Not
recently-
around like the Halloween time,
Yeah.
spook season.
I mean, we've been seeing more ads and stuff for them, trailers.
Mm-hmm.
But
But yeah,
some of them are coming out like now and came out like 2 months ago and stuff. So
mhm.
that's, yeah.
But we decided to open with this movie because I feel like the cultural significance that this movie plays in its role in like horror film and like a lot of the tropes that we know a good horror film for today, I feel like derived from the culmination of this movie because although too this movie is basically like a conglomerate of like a whole bunch of other horror movies that like came right before it.
It says like the director took a lot of inspiration from Halloween, but I'm going to be honest. I mean, other than the fact that it's like kind of a stocky killer or
like
something.
the POV shots.
Yeah. Other than that,
you didn't get
I don't
like those
really
vibes?
get much Halloween vibes,
Yeah.
and then the fact that they're like both hardcore slashers and stuff with some pretty intense death. I got more Psycho vibes with
okay.
like especially with Miss Voorhees and her at the end
Because it's like
speaking.
mommy and like you know yeah. But and see that's where like
And then some of those overlapping scenes.
and a lot of that was like them borrowing from because the guy who came up with the concept blatantly told the like director, the screenplay guy, like Halloween made a whole lot of a lot of money last year, and we want to capitalize on that and make just as much money because he had been coming from his company where he had been making like movies that weren't making any money at all.
Yeah.
And so he wanted to try to capitalize on that.
I
But,
see
like,
that
I see what
Victor
you mean,
Miller is who's that? So the screenwriter Victor Miller originally came up with something a different name in mind, and so in the spring of 1979 he was calling the film Long Night at Camp Blood. And so now I understand where the Camp Blood came in because I was like, that's literally the dumbest fucking name I've ever heard.
Really?
Like
Camp
y'all
Blood.
couldn't think of anything else.
Camp horror.
Camp Blood.
Yeah. Well, and we'll come to that in a minute. What's up?
Speaking of the camp used for filming is still operational.
Really?
So Camp Crystal Lake is actually Camp Nobi Bosco. Nobi Bosco.
Where is it at? Does it say?
That's a great question.
It's not that important. I saw.
But it's a fully operational camp.
I did see one of like the truck that drove Miss. I forget her name. One of the girls. Annie. There you go. It said NJ on it, so I'm assuming they were New Jersey.
Yeah. I don't know if that's where
because I was a little curious about where this all took place.
Nobi Bosco. Oh, well, it had a nice little link. It's literally called NO-BE-BO-SCO.
That sounds like
Nobi Bosco.
Okay, I see. Since 1927. That's a long time.
That is.
I'm sure some people have died there.
Oh, there had to
I hope
have
so.
been some
Oh, wait, that
deaths.
sounded really bad. I'm sorry. I don't hope so, but like it just would be really fitting if it did.
I hope so many people have died.
Literally.
It's in New Jersey, Hardwick, New Jersey.
Hey, okay,
There
cool.
you
Context clues, very important. Guys, be observant. So, let's go ahead and jump in. I feel like this movie starts off with I love the opening shot of like the moon. And already from the get-go, I mean, you can tell this was filmed in 1980 because like it's got that grainy vibe to it, like the quality of the film and like the sound. I guess we should let y'all know. I watched it on Paramount Plus.
That is also where I watched it
It's free on there.
as well.
But I do know that it's available for like rent. For like $2 on Amazon.
Yeah.
Prime.
Because we looked there first, and then we tried looking in a few other places.
I'll always try to find like where's the free one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, and let's go to every single streaming app
And look it up and
in.
see, because sometimes even if you Google it, it'll be like it's here, and then when you go to look for it, it's not there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was somewhere else that like Andrew had looked it up. He was trying to get it ready, and he was like, "If it fucking said it was free, what the hell?" And then. So then I was like, try something else. Try Paramount Plus. Try something, and then he was like,
I can hear like his verbiage saying that. Like I can hear him and his voice. That's funny. But yeah. So we have them opening up. We have us hearing some counselors. They're singing "What You Do" at like a camp. It's 1958. It gives us a little time thing at the bottom.
Vibes. It was very religious.
It sounds like a gospel song. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're singing a very religious song. The counselors are around the fire, but they aren't acting religious because we have Miss. Well, we didn't get names. We have two counselors that are just kind of Googling each other, and I put the same too. They're ogling. I was like, ooh, these campers are about to fuck. But
I love how right off the bat we get the classic like.
Oh yeah. It's already starting, so you get the sound that Caitlin just made, and it's throughout the entire movie. Yeah. And it's essentially like basically like what the like noises from Texas Chainsaw Massacre would be, or like the piano for what's it called,
The Exorcist or Halloween, yeah.
they're both, yeah, the
Yeah.
singing of the bells, something of the bells.
Yeah, that's right. They were like super similar songs.
And so yeah, it's I really like it because it kind of adds a little like extra layer throughout the whole movie, and I like the whole.
It feels campy.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It feels like
Which is fitting.
sounds that you would hear like outside, like
Speaking of some of those sounds, like those animal sounds, some of those birds sounded like they were screaming.
Oh yeah,
There was some
And
really unique
it all gave me like
bird
that
sounds.
nostalgic, familiar feeling of like even here, like sometimes when you go outside Texas heat and you just hear like the cicada, like
cicadas,
outside, and that's what we got a lot through this movie.
It very much gave you like
You're at camp.
where I came.
Camp Blood.
Camp Blood.
And so we have them all singing. Obviously, these two were fucking each other. So they get up, they go away. She passes her guitar to someone, and they sneak off. And it's kind of like, oh, we know what this is happening. They're gonna go try to find somewhere to canoodle and kiss and whatever. And she asked him like, oh, is this how Mary Ann kisses? And he's like, oh, I wouldn't know that. Like basically trying to tell her he has only eyes for her. I'm like, he lying. He at camp. That's the whole point of these summer camps.
New woman each week.
Literally. And so we have them basically then this whole time we had that POV, happening, someone walking. We can kind of like keeping eyes on everything and everybody. And then we find them at the top of a barn. And
it's the most awkward way to. They were like, let's sit down
on this wooden
and then
floor.
Let's just kind of halfway lay down. And it's like, yo, if you're coming here to do that, just like
you're gonna get a splinter.
Get to it. Yeah. They laid down that thin blanket, but
still,
what else?
I don't trust wood.
You're gonna scooch off
I
of
don't.
it at some point.
I hope so, because otherwise it's very vanilla.
Yeah.
And so then we have basically we can't see who the killer is, obviously. So but they come up and they're like, oh my god, we're not doing anything.
We were just messing around.
Just you literally on the floor, tongues in each other's mouths, and
your clothes were like half unbuttoned.
Like, we were Bible study.
Yeah.
And so we have the boy, which is kind of comedic. He gets stabbed and right in the stomach, and then we have this chick. The way she
runs around.
I don't understand what her thought process was.
She was like,
yeah,
give me over here. Give me over here.
Basically, you guys, she's moving from side to side.
And she's like in front of things. Yeah. Not really.
You can't get away.
The first place she goes is literally like in.
But yeah. And then when we get to the killer, so it made it hard. Like when the killer is revealed, it kind of made like a lot of these deaths seem like, how did someone's weighs less than me, like older age, like accomplish all this and not get overpowered by one of these,
by at least one of them,
one of the teen boys.
Some of them, like especially this one, some of the other deaths were pretty clever and took them by surprise. But yeah, especially these, like they could have, I mean, I guess they were caught off guard, but just like a fucking kick to the gut.
I think that's just us though. We're survivors.
Risk getting my leg chopped off.
We're not gonna like just take it.
Face. Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, so we get our first two deaths of the movie already, opening it up, like not even like 5 minutes in, and we have them dying in kind of this kind of ridiculous, not ridiculous ways, but it's just kind of funny. And then we have like whenever the girl finally gets murdered, which it doesn't show, but we have that zoom into her face where it just like
pan.
Yeah, it just freezes, and then we get this long zoom in into her agape mouth, and then we get a title sequence of Friday the 13th coming in, which I thought was pretty cool. I like that. And then we have the glass shattering. We get the music. The music throughout this movie was sometimes a bit like I feel like they were trying a little too hard with the score. I feel like they were trying to get like, we need like a Halloween moment or like something, but a lot of the times it just felt very like
it was
jarring and a lot, and like
especially towards the end,
it was grinding. It was annoying, like on the ears.
The last scene, like the lake scene, that music, it's like it was trying to be tranquil, but then it was so dissonant and loud that I was like, this is a little much.
And then at the end of it, it got more like like it almost gave me like Jaws. A lot of the times, this gave me Jaws vibes. So which also goes to show like they were kind of like not ripping off, but trying to emulate all these other feelings that you got from these other scary movies up until this point. But
They were
yeah,
like, let's take what everyone else did right
literally
and try and make it our
throw it
own.
on and put a nice little title to it. And so yeah, basically after all of that, we have present day, and we have Annie, and she's looking a little bit like a vagrant.
Yeah, she got her
little hobo.
looked like she's hiking like I did when I was hiking across
She
Europe.
got her whole bag. She's looking. She's trying to, I guess, get to Camp Crystal Lake. That's going to be the scene for the whole part of the movie. And I love how she goes and asks the dog for directions.
That doggy was having none of her shit.
Literally none
He
of
was
it.
like, I don't speak English.
And she didn't even
bitch.
have a treat. Like,
Yeah.
you don't ask a dog for something without a treat.
He was
That's
like, you
just
pet
not how it
me, no
works.
food?
Have you seen the TikTok
Wrong.
of the dog that shakes your hand for $1?
No.
It is so cute. I don't know how like
I bet that owner's
dog
rich
labor
now.
laws work, but I think it's like not here. It's like in Mexico or somewhere. This dude has a little dog. He's set up. He has a little sign and his little sunglasses, and you go put $1 in the bucket, and he'll like lift his paw and give you a handshake.
Oh,
But
that's so
he
cute.
only does it for the handshake. He knows not to like. If you don't put $1 in there, you don't get a handshake. You don't even get acknowledged.
Who are you?
Mhm.
You're not here.
Literally.
No dollar, no existence.
And so
That's what I'm gonna start living by.
for real, she's looking for this place. She ends up eventually finding a little cafe in town, downtown apparently. So they're downtown, and as soon as she's like, "Hey, does anybody know how to get to Camp Crystal Lake?" Everybody's like looking at her. They turn down the music. She's like, it's about some miles from here, wouldn't you say? And then they're all like, "You're trying to go to Camp Blood?"
That place is cursed.
Literally.
And why the fuck you wouldn't turn around right after that?
Yeah.
But who knows?
And they made it a point to like still be all up in her Kool-Aid.
Mhm.
But I feel like
This-
that's also like the small town vibes, you
Yeah.
know. That's very like they all know who's who and what's going on, and they're not used
and
to
this
change
is our
difference.
like we talked about in the cabin in the woods. Kind
Kind of like the red herring, or not
Yeah.
red herring, but the
the person who's the prophet of
yeah.
doom.
There you go. That's a good way to
basically.
say it. Prophet of Doom.
Yeah, like we had in
Yeah.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
Kind of, well, at
Which
least.
I believe came out before this,
Yes.
right? Yep.
Yeah.
70s. Yeah. Yeah.
And then now, like,
Yeah,
that
but
was-
that's
this
like
is
how
kind
it
of like
becomes. This kind of cemented that idea in the horror movie like trope universe of like these things have to be in line or happen. Like there has to be a virgin. There has to be two kids that have sex. There has to be yes. So all those
always,
things kind of
yeah. I feel like, I mean, if anything, Cabin in the Woods took a lot from this.
Oh yeah,
There was also another.
I feel like they're kind of like the reincarnation of what Friday the 13th was trying to be, basically, and not necessarily be like can't like a. I feel like Cabin in the Woods was definitely more like camp, and it knew what it was trying to do, like be the joke
very
of it.
meta.
Whereas Friday was like trying to do it, but not be meta and not
This is a serious horror film.
Yeah, let us in on it. Yeah. But yeah, we have all that happening. Finally, I guess I would be so mad at that freaking diner lady who's just like, "Oh, aren't you heading up that way?" And the way he was like, well, damn it, Skip. All right, let's
guess
go.
you're right.
Yeah.
Guess I am.
I'd be like, no, don't be putting that on
I'm
me.
sure not.
For real.
What's his name? Enos?
I think so.
Enos.
Enos.
The way that, when they get outside and
Ennis?
he's like, Ennis?
Is it Enos or Ennis?
It's anus.
Anus. Anus honest. It's one of the three. But yeah, he was kind of weird. But
when they got out
especially
and
when
he was
they're-
like, are all the girls at camp going to be as pretty as you? And I was
Yeah.
like, shut the fuck up, creep. Like,
Yeah.
come on.
And then that's whenever
He
we
touches
have
her butt
our,
getting in the car, too.
Oh, he did?
Well, yeah, like he's just helping her up. But he got a,
he
he
got a
got
little
a full
grabsy.
hand. Yeah.
We have at that point, that's when they run into the Prophet of Doom, mister Ralph, and he starts spewing out, there's a death curse.
You will never come back.
You'll never come back.
You're
There's a
going to
death
Camp
curse.
Crystal Lake or Camp Blood,
Camp
aren't
Blood.
you?
Mm-hmm.
You'll never come back.
And yeah, basically the dude who always sounds crazy, he hasn't had a shower and looks like he smells a little bit, probably has some alcohol. Or
Yeah.
he could just be a really nice, respectable guy and nobody even gives him a time of day.
No, they did say
He was like a
that
fool.
he drank
A
a
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he always ended up in like a
Jail for
in
a
the
week.
jail. Mhm.
So I think he had some issues. Also, don't trust people who ride bikes with perfect posture. Motherfucker rode off like.
Oh, he did, yeah.
I hate that. I hate it.
Oh, even later when he's like leaving the camp, when he goes to, Harbinger Doom, Harbinger of Doom or something like that.
Yeah,
It's got the
yeah,
Harbinger. I think that
Harbinger.
they called him in that.
That is.
Mhm. Excuse me, you guys.
Cough you.
And so yeah, later on when he's getting away and he's going into like the woods, like the way he's riding the bike,
Yeah.
I was fully expecting him to like hit a rock and like plop over. And so we get a ride to Camp Crystal Lake, but on this ride, he's basically telling her and warning her that she shouldn't go because of all these things that happened. Basically, we had the people dying in 58, the 2 kids that were murdered, but the year before that, we had a boy drowning, which is a foreshadowing in 57. And we have a bunch of fires. We have in 62, they tried to open back up the camp, but the water was bad, whatever that means.
Yeah, no, I was like,
how did
was
she
it the lake
poison the
water,
water?
or was it like just the water lines themselves were all cut or something? I don't know. I was like, what did they
release some flesh-eating amoebas? I don't know.
She possibly could have to keep kids out
Exactly
of the water.
Yeah. And so we have,
I feel like all that information should be disclosed, right? Like you're going to a camp and where active murders are happening. I feel like
obviously Steve, the owner, I'm sure was like, this is also 1980. Believe it's set in that time. It's set in that time period too, obviously.
Yeah, 78.
So like, I feel like there's not, there's not as many like rules for working, if that makes sense.
There definitely wasn't.
Like, yeah,
a lot more shit
flew. Yeah, exactly. Under the radar. So yeah, these campers are not aware basically of like all the bad stuff that has happened at this camp. And then right after we get his little also message of doom and putting doom to her, we get a whole other shot of banjo music. I was like, where did this come from? But
dear God, the banjo.
We have,
I mean, I think that's what they were like listening to.
Yeah, in the car. But we have this group of kids, 3 of them. We have Jack, Marcia, and Marcia. Is it Marcy? Is it Marcy? Okay. I think so. And Ned. And Jack is played by Kevin Bacon. And I feel like Ned is someone too. He's
he gave me very. At the time of this coming out, Kevin Bacon actually wasn't the most popular.
No, he didn't get popular until like I think 4 years later with Footloose in '84. Because he had one role or a couple roles in some big films right before this.
Yeah, he'd had a small role in Animal House, and at the time, the biggest name in the film was Harry Crosby, the son of the recently deceased singer Bing Crosby. And he played Bill.
Bill? Oh, really? I recognize Ned though. Ned, was he's like
definitely
when he gets older, like in other films. Like I recognize him in his like 30-ish form, not whatever
he was
age they were there.
Little.
Who?
Like he just looked so young.
Ned?
And yes.
Oh yeah, he looked very young. And so yeah, we got a Kevin Bacon, we got Ned, we got Miss Marcy, and that's whenever they get to the camp, they pull up, and we have Steve, who is their boss outside. He's chopping some wood.
And he was wearing shorts like yours.
Oh, yeah, I noticed.
I was like, oh, those are Josh shorts.
And so we have some nice 1970-ish, 1980s short shorts. He's chopping wood outside. Everybody pulls up, and that's when he's like calling everybody to help. I guess if I was looking
pretty good, I would also.
You got to.
Yeah, I'd be doing
short
that too.
I also just hate pants. I can't wear pants. Well, I mean, I can, and I do. But whenever I do, just know I don't like it. So
he was in the remake as well.
Really?
Mark Nelson was, yeah.
Ned.
Yeah.
Neddy.
Yeah.
Cool. I have to look it up. Mark Nelson. Watch him not even be who I thought it was.
He gave me. He's actually not in a lot.
then I got him confused with someone else, and I don't know.
He's got one of those faces. He kind of reminds me of what's that one where he skips school?
Ferris Bueller?
Yeah. He kind of gives me his face vibes.
That's interesting. You know who he gives me? Especially in this picture, I guess. I think it's one of the Brady Bunch kids.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I think it's one of them. But
he's like, I don't fucking know.
Yeah. But anyways, we got them all helping Steve out now. We have Alice rushing out because Steve caught her.
From the get, you can tell Alice is our final girl.
Oh yeah,
she gives major final girl vibes. I can't.
She does, especially because she kind of like her role in the movie. I feel like a lot of it is anchored towards her, whereas the other counselors kind of have like little side things going on. They go off, but we're always kind of gravitate back towards her.
Yeah. She just comes in and she's a boss ass bitch.
Yeah.
She's getting shit done. She's building shit. Good for her.
Telling people where to go, what to do. She's kind of, I guess, like a assistant to Steve.
Command. Yeah, but then also
but it's only because he's like trying to sleep with her.
Yeah,
that's the vibe I'm getting.
He's kind of a
because
too.
We have her helping them. We have like they're getting situated. They're talking. Everybody kind of meets a little bit, get some names. But then we have her trying to hammer in the little gutters or whatever that's happening up there. And that's
Yeah.
whenever he's talking to her, and that's when we get the vibe of like, I feel like she wanted to leave, but he was just like, just give me another week, another chance. Like if you don't
and it was
feel,
like, what did you try?
yeah, that's what it felt like. They were alone. He tried some moves that she wasn't down for, and yeah, probably
Because
gave her
then
creep
I guess
vibes.
she had also like
She said that there was something she had to figure out back home or
that's
something.
true. She
right?
said
Maybe
she had
a boyfriend.
something to take care of back in California. Maybe it
Maybe
was
she
a
was
boyfriend.
already in a relationship or something, and that's why.
And she was like,
There's layers.
I have some personal reasons, and that's
Mhm.
why I don't want to be here. But yeah, she had a sketchbook just laying
Yeah.
by her ladder.
I thought that was weird of him too to just pick that up and start looking at it.
Yeah, it's
and,
like, bitch, that's
getting
not your
all
property.
getting all up in her business.
But I guess she had
And
drew a
I
picture
hated
of
how
him.
he's like, you're talented and pretty.
I was
Like, I was like,
okay.
okay.
no,
stop.
no, duh, bitch. I know I'm pretty.
Yeah. But that happens. He kind of caresses her hair a little bit, which is weird.
I love the sass she gives him the whole time. Because when he's
mhm.
like, do I really look like this? She was like, you did last night. And
Yeah.
he was like, really? And she was like, you did last night.
Mhm.
And she just like keeps giving it to him the whole time. I loved it.
She stands her own.
Mm-hmm.
And
But yeah,
We
when he
have-
caresses her face.
yeah. And then right after that, she goes to go find Bill or something like that to go
Mhm.
tell him something. He needs he needs to do something, and that's whenever we get kind of like an not interaction, but we there's a lot of times in this movie, and I don't know if it's necessarily because someone is watching them. I'm assuming someone is watching them, that we get shots where it's like we're behind a tree looking at what's happening, or behind a bush, or
Yeah.
behind this. And I don't know if that was just like for us am I supposed to think every single time that someone watching them, or just their style of how they wanted us to see this frame?
Yeah,
Like,
because especially in this scene and then one later right before Bill's death, there are
mhm.
moments where it's just like so close and there's clearly no hiding spot.
Yeah.
And so it's
Even
like,
when she
there's
walked
no
by her
way-
earlier,
Yeah, she
and that
walked.
scene, I was like, how did you miss someone just standing right there?
Exactly.
Because the like POV is like, walk
She,
right by
she
me.
would have seen her from any like
Angle.
around that tree.
Yeah.
So I was like, is this supposed
So
to be the killer?
That's why I was wondering. I was like, wait, maybe it's not a POV and it's just how they chose to
Yeah.
like show us what's happening.
I think I wrote that later.
Or
in my
maybe
notes.
we're supposed to feel like that POV or killer. You know, they're trying to put us
I'm
in
like,
those
we're the killer.
footsteps. Yeah.
Because later in my notes I wrote.
Because it's kind of like a whodunit, but not a whodunit. Because it's
Mhm.
like, we know none of the cancers are doing it.
Yeah.
But we don't know who is like just stalking these kids.
And they try to make you think that, I feel like they try to make you think that Steve did it with the Jeeps and stuff
mhm.
and him being gone
That's
the whole
true.
time.
Yeah.
But they
And
really.
especially because it felt like at that moment, when she was talking to Bill, it looked like a creeper guy, like being like, "Who's my girl talking to?" kind of
Mhm.
thing. Like,
Yeah. But then they honestly executed that kind of poorly
mhm.
because whenever Steve does leave in the Jeep and stuff, he has the top down. And then basically immediately it flashes to Annie
oh yeah,
hitchhiking again. I don't know why I had that inflection. Sorry.
No,
Hitchhiking.
she's
But-
hitchhiking. Yeah, which
and-
also too, I put this bitch Annie's just getting in anyone's car.
Yeah, which is not
which I guess what
safe.
she used to do back in the day.
Yeah, but
like,
that's also how all the murders happen.
that's true.
And so
We got
that's
a
why
Ted
we don't
Bundy.
hitchhike.
We got all them.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But so then whenever you see the Jeep again, the top is up
Mhm.
and it literally is like the next scene. If they would have waited and then showed Annie like getting picked up, maybe like, I don't
Yeah.
know, like 30 minutes later, I would have been like, oh, wait, he had time to put that hood up.
Well,
Like,
because
put
even
the
the
top
whole
on.
thing with Annie as well, like she's just there to die, and
Oh,
not
yeah,
even
that's her
like
only
a part of
purpose.
the whole other story. Like it happens like a side plot.
Yeah,
You know?
because at this point, basically, they're like, well, everyone's here except for
Except
Annie,
Annie.
that
Yeah.
one who's supposed to cook for us. No one's here. And so we're like, okay, well, she hasn't made it yet.
Yeah.
And then that's when
Mhm.
he leaves, Steve leaves, and he's like, I'll be back sometime after lunch.
That's right. Yeah.
And he was like, it's also supposed to rain, so make sure you get as much done as possible. And then these motherfuckers go swimming.
That's right.
And I was like, "Aren't you
As anyone, I feel like as anyone would do when their boss leaves, right?
Yeah.
And so they're all getting whatever. Oh no, because at that point, whenever Annie gets picked up by that Jeep, we have her talking to this person in the Jeep, but then they pass the camp.
Yeah,
and she's
they
like,
accelerate past the entrance.
and she's like, please let me out.
to
And they're not letting
stop.
her out. And she freaking jumps out of the Jeep, and then goes running into the woods, and she's getting chased, obviously, by whoever is in the vehicle. But yeah, it just kind of for me sucked for Annie because she just like ends up on a train and just gets her neck sliced. Like,
And the practical effects of that were really good.
yeah, no, throughout the movie, they had some pretty good practical effects. They had Tom Scavini, I think that's his name or something like that, and he's really, really big on like practical effects. I believe he was worked on Shaun of the Dead before this as well.
Okay.
So, and throughout later in his career too, he's done a lot.
Yeah. It looked really good. We did skip over one part that I think is important. We should mention.
What happened?
So basically, after Steve leaves and stuff, and no, wait, it's actually before that. When is it? No, it's it's after. He says basically right after the storm's gonna roll in, and he this is the one scene that happens in between him leaving and then Annie getting picked up.
Gotcha.
And it's Brenda is out there putting the archery what is that called? Target out there, and then Steve fucking shoots an arrow.
It's Ned.
Ned, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ned shoots an arrow and is like, I guess that's how he's flirting.
Yeah.
But
because then he's like, "Do you want to see my trick shot?"
Yeah, and
he
it
was very
narrowly
close
missed
to
her.
hitting her.
Yeah. She had set it down. It went right past her stomach, but that's some good foreshadowing.
Oh yeah.
As to how she's gonna die.
And also Ned in itself, he's supposed to be like the comedic relief, I guess, or the funny guy in the movie, which always, like in the trope, we always have the one like dude who's kind of always doing a little too much, a little extra.
Yeah, it's like, okay, bud, you need to stop.
Calm down. Not everything's a joke.
Yeah.
And so, that's whenever we jump to Annie. She got basically murdered. So they're never going to have any food at this camp. And at that point too, oh no, that was a little earlier, but whenever she was talking to the guy in the car, she was mentioning how they were gonna have like 50 kids in like 2 weeks. Like they had this should have been mentioned earlier too. Is like they're preparing. They're gonna open up the camp in 2 weeks.
And now a word from our sponsors.
So going back to her neck getting slit one more time.
Yeah.
I like the way that it was, the blood didn't immediately shoot out.
Mm-mm.
I like the way that it was like, you could kind of like see the
rolled.
fleshy and then it went.
Yeah.
I was like, ooh.
Well, and a lot of the death scenes too in this, even if they do like have like a practical effect, they're very fast. And I guess because like I think it's a PG-13 as well. And for back then, they don't show a lot of gore or too much like.
I mean, that axe to the face is pretty intense.
Yeah, I feel like that too. But other than that, and like Kevin Bacon's neck thing, and even Kevin Bacon's neck thing, I just mean like even too like whenever that does happen, it's like 5 seconds.
Yeah, you're not seeing much.
It's not a
very quick.
And there's not like a
yeah.
It's just
sitting
like
there dying for 30 minutes.
Yeah, literally. But continue for me. I'm gonna look up the rating of this when it was released.
Oh yes. So basically after that though, like I said earlier, they go swimming. Even though they're all supposed to be working, they're like just hanging out in the nice little lake. It was a nice day and the rain was about to happen. So they need to cool off, I guess. And like you said, their boss was gone. So they're all swimming in the lake, just really kind of dicking around. And then finally someone's like, we need to get back to work.
Yeah. And
What was the
it's
rating?
rated R actually. Yeah.
Oh.
So it was rated R. But it still, I feel like didn't show too much gore or anything like that. It wasn't too bloody. And then, so we have them needing to go back to work. And then that's whenever Ned gets the clever idea to pretend like he's drowning, which we see,
Again.
which is
Too much.
Yeah, which is something that,
not
like, if you've
cool.
ever, it depends, time and situation. Right here, maybe not so great. I don't know. Like, I guess they don't necessarily know what's going on. So that does make sense.
Yeah.
That it's just like a regular day. They don't know they're about to get murdered. But then I'm thinking, like, there's the Sandlot where it's, like, cute and funny because it's, like, a little kid trying to, you know what I'm talking about? Do you know that scene in the Sandlot? Yeah. But which is probably where they got that from this maybe. But anyways, I was like, come on, Ned. So they go in, they go save Ned, bring him up. Brenda tries to give him mouth to mouth, which is what he wanted, and
Also,
then he tries to kiss
Brenda's
her.
dive into the water was so beautiful, and then Jack just fucking flops. She was
I
like,
saw that.
I am Grace, and then
I
he
noticed
was like,
that.
It cracked me up. I was like, come on, boy, like you couldn't have tried that again.
Yeah.
Like one more time to get a slightly better dive.
Yeah,
I feel
no,
like I don't even know
noticed
how
that
to
too.
dive, and I
He
would dive
plopped
better
in.
than
He
that.
plopped in.
But yes, Brenda's the one who gives him mouth to mouth, and then he starts making out with her.
Yeah, which is not a cute way to trick someone into kissing you, but I
No.
guess they were flirty enough at this point that it was all right.
Yeah.
And so after that, we have them getting back to the cabin to, at their whatever they were trying to do, get everything ready, and then we have someone finds a snake in the cabin.
It's
Is it
Annie.
Annie? Yeah,
And it's the way
not
that
Annie. Annie? Annie's dead.
No, yeah, not Annie. Alice.
Alice. Okay.
But the blonde, our final girl.
Yes.
And it's the way I was screaming more because of the snake than I was
yeah.
like anything else.
And they
I was
kind of
like,
all
"Ew,
of
no,
the
no,
way
no,
they
no,
all
no."
react though too, and they're all jumping all over
Okay,
the place trying to get the snake. That's a lot.
I was like, why are y'all doing this
But
much?
there's some actually tragic like backstory to this.
Oh?
Yeah. So it's a real snake.
Oh, they
And
killed it did look real.
It was very real, and I was thinking like, there's no way this is a real snake. And I just looked it up today on some fun facts, whatever. Well, it's not really that fun. They got a dude who like handles snakes. It's like a pet snake, I guess, but like for like stage acting and stuff.
Yeah.
And they didn't
just
tell
killed
him,
it?
and they didn't even tell him, and they killed it. They didn't even tell him what was gonna happen. Otherwise,
so
he wouldn't have let
mean.
him use the snake. Yeah, and they ended
Aw.
up killing the real snake. Yeah, R.I.P. snake.
Yeah.
But
Which-
also ill snake.
Yeah. I was like, oh, poor snake.
Yeah,
Because
so-
it looked really
Oh,
real.
no, yeah.
I was like, that's exactly what
They
a
didn't
snake
just
looks
hack it
like.
once. They hacked it like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
So they
Also, how do you call a snake? and she was
Literally.
like, call it.
Yeah.
It's like,
the way they're all just like, well, if y'all would just give some space, it would come out. It's obviously
Mm-hmm.
afraid of y'all. But yeah, they
they destroyed
that
the room.
they did
For no reason.
just the little snake not under the bed.
I also would have just left that cabin and never went back in. But
Yeah, I think it was Alice who said, or was it Brenda? She's like, I can't sleep with the snake in here. You
Yeah.
gotta kill it. Yeah. So poor Snake Gate, we have that happening, and then after that, we have them outside doing some shit, and then that's whenever the cop shows up. We have Ned appropriating culture.
yeah,
I
I was like,
but
yikes.
I will say he was looking like a snack. I will say I was like, I don't mind the outfit.
He did have some very small shorts
some
on.
booty shorts. And so the next cop comes and is basically there's so many harbingers of just doom in this movie, because he's also just another voice that's telling them like,
Place not okay.
this place is not okay. Y'all shouldn't be here, and saying like, if y'all are here, we'll to
Have
not
you
like
seen Ralph?
yeah, basically looking for Ralph. That's when we get more information on how like he's a drunk, and he just like, also I guess it's trying to like make it seem like he's crazy, so everything he said earlier could like not be true, I guess, in a way,
Yeah.
but we already know what's about to happen. But yeah, we have that whole interaction with the cop, and it's funny because like at the end he's like, what does he say? He's like, we ain't gonna stand for no weirdness out here.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
I
you can
think so.
you can
And he
already
says,
tell.
keep your nose clean.
Yeah, this is just another, adult figure basically telling these kids to like act right.
Yeah, because he immediately comes up and is like, "What have y'all been smoking?"
Mm-hmm.
And he's like,
that's right.
The weed, dig it." I was like, "What?
Because even they're like, what are you talking
What
about?
the hell?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "I don't smoke. It causes cancer." Anyways,
And
but-
so immediately after that, we get the scene wherever they go back into the cabins, and Alice is in the kitchen,
Yeah,
and
she's
she's
got
going
a
to that
bunch of shit in
pantry.
her hands,
Yeah, and she opens it up, and that's whenever Ralph just pops out,
he was just standing there,
just
Like,
ready
How long were you
in a
gonna
pantry.
wait
Yeah,
for someone to open that pantry?
literally.
Just, have
I
you
came to
been in
warn
there
you, but
all
only when
day?
you found me.
Yeah, 'cause he
Literally.
was just like standing at the back, and I was like, I wonder how much
He was
time he
crazy
had to
though.
kill
He was crazy though.
in between, like.
He was
Oh,
crazy though. Maybe
that's
he was
true.
getting a snack,
Yeah.
and she just happened to found him. And
Opening some
so
peaches.
he obviously gives another like warning of death.
He says,
and
"I am the messenger of God. You're
Mhm.
doomed if you stay here. This place is cursed." I'm like, "Go."
And that's
No.
whenever Ned is just like, I think you should just go.
Yeah.
You should leave. And then he does leave, and this is where I was just like, damn, this and he, as
then he
he's
just-
walking away, he's like, you're all doomed. You're doomed.
He literally stood there to hide in the pantry for however long, come out,
just to tell them
them
three
that,
things and go.
and then he leaves.
Leaves,
He just
yeah.
dips.
Well,
Bye.
I mean, kudos to him. He's like, you know what? I'm getting out of here.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna stay.
I'm
find
surprised
out.
he went down there in the first place, though.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to die, sir.
And how do you beat Annie? I mean, I know she's dead now, but
Yeah.
did he he rode his bike down there and
Yeah.
like had all, and
Well, I guess
all that
while
had
she
happened
was sitting
beforehand?
there walking, and
It's true.
maybe he knew a shortcut.
Probably. He's
Also, the
familiar with
time, I
area.
guess, could be a little off.
And so that's true. Anyways, he leaves and I'm just thinking like where is he going? But okay. He's probably he was a murderer the whole time.
Yeah.
I was like thinking too there has to be
You
like
could,
a joint.
It could have been him.
Two people murder. Like
Mhm.
Stu Mocker and
Yeah.
Bailey Loomis. There we go.
Like Crandall.
But yeah, Randall. We have then we look at Jack. Jack's with Kevin Bacon and Miss Marcy, not Marsha. I kept calling her Marsha, then I have it written down as Marsha.
Mhm.
Marcy are making out. Ned's watching them
Oh, yeah,
I
like a
guess
fucking
he's
weirdo.
yeah, he's just watching
Also,
them.
the power is went out, and
The
they've got
power's
a
out.
backup generator at this point.
Oh, that's right. That's
so
right.
that's not.
they had
it's
went to
like
go do that.
Just a small little scene,
But yeah, because that
good to
generator
know.
does come into play later.
and at this point, I'm like, well, they were all eating lunch, and I was like, wasn't Steve supposed to be back by now?
He's
He
gone
should
for a
have been
really
back.
long time.
Yeah, he was like,
The way
I'll
he
be
said,
back
I was
after
about to be
lunch.
back, especially because he said, I'm trying to beat the rain.
Yeah.
And yet it never started raining and he still wasn't there yet.
Mhm.
But at this point,
just eating
after
their
they're
dinner.
kissing or whatever, and then as Ned is watching them, he sees someone in another cabin.
Mhm.
And that's whenever I'm like, no, Ned, do not go.
Do not
But
go to
he goes to
investigate.
investigate. And that's whenever we kind of don't see Ned for a while.
Yeah.
And anyways, we're back to Jack. We're back to Marcy. They're kissing on the dock. They're just talking. And then that's whenever the storm starts happening.
Oh, and Marcy has some weird ass dreams.
She does.
That's
yeah.
what I was like. Is fucking Marcy the killer? Because the way that she
They're
was
kind
like,
of trying to make
it's
you.
so loud, and said I had this dream where the rain would fall so hard, and it was just so loud, and I would cover my ears, and it wouldn't stop until then the rain would turn to blood, and it would just wash away, and then all the silence would stop, and I was like, I wonder if like
That was a vision. That was a vision of what was about to happen to all of them.
yeah, that's true. I was
Literally.
like, I feel like maybe if
she was a
was
prophet.
not sane, and wanted to murder people, like I feel like a lot of the times people hear voices in their heads and it's so loud, and then until they kill does it only
Because it's so
become
loud.
silent. And so I was like, oh, what if
Caitlin, is there something you have to tell us? The experience that you have with that story. We're all quiet now. Literally. And so we have them doing their little talking on the dock, and then it starts raining really hard, or well, it's about to start storming. So we have them running off.
Oh, also the lightning flashes, it looked like just headlights flashing on them.
Yeah,
I have no clue if it was, but
probably
I
was.
would love to think that that was how they made that effect.
I'm sure.
Because it was like stupid bright lightning.
Didn't seem like they had like a huge budget for the
Yeah.
movie or anything like that.
That's true.
So it could be, or something else, or just like, I don't know, some overhead lighting
Just
that they were flickering. Literally, yeah.
Turning the
Pull it
lamp
away.
up and then back down.
And so then we have, after this, I guess, the girls, Is
They
it?
go into
Did they already go? Yeah, right. They go
Yeah.
into the room already.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's right. We have her getting in her little panties. She gets on the bed. He takes off his shirt.
And
We
I
have
just
them
want to know how
kissing.
they don't know Ned is
that
on top
Ned
of
is
them.
literally above them in the bunk bed above them.
Like I know
Because
that
I feel
there
like
was
it would have been eye level or something when
Yeah.
they walked in, but it's very dark and there's no power, so
That's true.
that's one thing. And he has to light that little candle. Remember?
Yeah, and there looked to be like some sort of like rucksack on the other side of Ned.
That
and so,
yeah. So they didn't see from their perspective. He was getting blocked.
yeah.
He looked just like a.
There was one
Gotcha.
part where I feel like Annie did get up from. No, why do I keep fucking bringing back Annie?
Alice. You mean Alice?
No, Marcy.
Marcy.
When I feel like she got up kind of on that side, and I was like, girl, how do you not notice that? Also, there was blood on the fucking pillow.
Yeah.
There was blood on her pillow, like while they were fucking.
I
There
didn't
was
see it.
blood on the
That had been
pillow
dripping.
to the right of her
Yeah.
head. Yeah.
But I did whenever
But I
they're.
guess it's a
because
gross camp pillow.
They're right in the middle of doing the do, and that's whenever you get a flash of light and you see Ned's body just like bloodied and corpsed up on top of them because he was just murdered. That was pretty sad.
It was.
I was also pretty sad that we didn't get Ned's death like on screen. He just
Yeah.
happened to get killed off screen.
There were a few deaths that.
That happened that way. Yeah. More than a few, I'd say. Kind of most of the deaths.
Yeah, you
it
just kind of
happened
see
off
them wander
screen.
off, and then it's like,
They're dead.
whoop,
Yeah.
bye.
And so I keep
Also,
for a while here in these notes, it's like, where's Ned? What happened to Ned?
where the fuck is Ned?
Why is nobody asking where's Ned at? Because at one
Oh.
point someone's like, oh, where Jack and whatever, and we're like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm sure they're dry wherever they're at right now, but
'Cause it,
nobody's asking
flashes
about
back to the
Ned.
others, and I was like, they only mentioned Jack and Marcy. I was like, poor Ned.
Literally.
But at this point, I mean, the moment he went in that cabin, I was like, and Ned's dead.
Because
Bye.
we're going in between what's happening with Jack and Marcy and the rest of the counselors, and they're playing strip Monopoly.
That's right.
Remember?
Which is so odd. But wait, so because of Jack's death, the killer had to have been under the bed the whole time.
The whole time they were doing
She
it.
was just under
Yeah.
the bed the whole time.
Yeah.
That's the funniest idea to me.
And it's so funny too because we do figure out who the murderer is here in a little bit, but whenever this hand comes up and holds his head and then goes like it's the man's hand.
Yeah.
You can
They
very
did
clearly
have-
a lot of times like other body doubles in places where it should have been
just like
someone else.
Halloween, when there were multiple people playing Michael,
Yeah.
there were multiple people playing the killer before they finally
reveal the killer.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there are some points where it's like you just see like just the boots
Yeah.
or something,
And it looks like a
it's-
total like a man.
Yeah.
Like yeah.
which like wear whatever you want, but those were man's feet,
Yeah, you can tell.
men's feet.
A few times, and even later when someone gets thrown through the like you can tell that's not her body.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we have them playing the strip Monopoly. It's all scandalous, whatever, some kids just playing around. And that's whenever we have all that shit happening with Jack, Marcy, and Ned also kind of simultaneously.
Oh, and
And
then
then-
while we were watching this, Andrew brought up a good point. He was like, so is this kind of like playing back to the beginning? Because right before that, they were all around
The campfire.
the campfire
Yeah.
or like
Singing.
in the
They had a
living
guitar
room.
as well.
Yeah,
And
and
they
the
were-
guitar, like playing the guitar, singing.
The
and
second
then-
part where the dude was playing guitar, that's actually the actor playing the guitar. And it was
Oh.
so pretty. Yeah.
It was. Good
Yeah.
job for him. But yeah, and then like while that is happening, we've got the couple going and having sex.
It makes sense.
And then they get murdered.
Oh, yeah.
So I was like, oh, you're right.
It's a parallel.
Yeah.
And also, which also is like, I feel like Mrs. Whatever the killer also makes that distinct reason to like killing people because they're like, y'all were too busy doing this, this, and this to be watching the children, you know,
To be watching
trying
my
to
son who's
punish
drowning.
them. Yeah.
Especially the ones who are
It's
making
funny.
love.
It just a light bulb went off for me because he was playing the actual guitar, and you said that's Bing Crosby's son, so that makes
Oh,
sense.
this does make sense.
Music, because
That's right.
that makes sense.
Duh.
Okay. And so yeah, we have all that going on. We have the strip Monopoly then being over because for some reason they stop playing, and then Marcy goes to the restroom. And Marcy's in the restroom. She hears sounds, and she's like. And then she was struggling, like turn on water. She hears sounds. She's looking around. She thinks it's, someone trying to play a prank on her. And she's looking for them behind shower curtains.
But before she dies, Jack dies.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
He does.
That's
die.
right. Yeah. So while she's over there, like using the restroom and stuff like that, the killer then has this really cool death where they are behind or beneath the bed, and then just stabs them from the other side through the neck with this like scalpel almost looking thing.
Yeah,
or, like,
arrow.
It looks like.
I don't know.
Oh, it probably was an arrow. You're right.
Yeah.
They're at camp. It was an arrow because the end of it looks like an arrow.
Yeah,
At the tip.
but then it's got like a hollowed out point though too. So I guess maybe a real fancy.
It looks
arrow.
like
I don't
what
know.
to me, like what people use to I forget what it's called. I think it's scalloping or scalping. It's like what people do for pottery when they're like
Oh yeah,
the
to like
little
when they're like sculpting things and stuff. Yeah, I don't know the correct phrase either, but that scene was awesome.
Yeah.
The way that it poked up through his neck and you could like see the skin like protrude
And they did a
before
practical.
it goes.
They did what they did is they created a dummy neck and like this part, so like a bust basically, and then they had his head through a hole in the bed, and so he was there. And they had the fake thing, and they had a fake body like
Nice.
laid in the bed, and then just like, and if you looked at it closely, you could see the discoloration between his face.
Oh, I'm gonna
skin
have to go back
and
and
his
look
neck
at that.
skin. You can totally see it.
Oh,
but
damn.
it's 1980s, so like,
Yeah, I wasn't paying
Yeah.
that much attention, and I was like, that looked cool.
yeah,
I loved it. But yes, then Marcy is, and it's the way. Okay, were her and Ned like siblings? They gave sibling vibes to me.
I never thought of that.
Because also both of them throughout the entire movie kept doing impersonations.
That's true.
Like he did one and then she did one while they were swimming.
That's
and then
true.
she impersonates
Someone else.
Audrey Hepburn, right?
Audrey Hepburn. I
And-
know the first one was Mae West,
Yeah.
and then she's doing something. Yeah.
Yes. I don't know who. But the way I felt like it was such an interesting way to look, most people
can
look
see
in the
that,
mirror
like-
and they're like, I hate myself. I'm so ugly. And then the way she did it was with an impression that was like, no,
Yeah.
much more plain than, I don't know, remember what she said.
I
but
don't know. I couldn't tell you. I wouldn't know.
It was such a funny way.
But I can
was like,
see
she's
where
kind of funny.
They
I like her.
can be like the common thread of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But then also he was like, are there going to be any more beautiful girls other than you? And it's like, oh, okay, that would be creepy.
But
So-
I could see that still though.
Maybe they're just besties.
Probably.
Yeah.
I don't know. But she's looking for him. Don't see nobody. That's whenever she's looking behind shower curtains, and then she looks behind another one after the first one, and she's like, "Guess it must have been my imagination." And then she turns around, and this is where we get a beautiful shot of an axe like in the air, and then it hits a light, and then it's the way that like it all happens. It's like duh duh duh. Like it's not like a
Swoop. Yeah.
It's like a It's
And
steps
her
to her getting
scream-
murdered. Her like.
Her eyes were closed, and I was like, bitch, you're just waiting for it.
She was waiting for her to
She
stop
was like,
fight.
yeah,
she was
okay,
accepting
time to
it.
die.
Literally. Yeah. She didn't like try to move out the way or run or do anything. None of these people really do. They just
No,
allow their
they're
fate
just
to
like,
happen.
And it's time for me to die. Okay,
Yeah.
goodbye. Her face, though, I was like, damn,
Yeah.
you were doing so well. And then your death scream
And
was
so it
pretty
was
bad.
a fake axe, obviously, but before the fake axe that's put in her head is like there. They used a real axe to like give weight to it, and like that's what hit the light and all that. To
Oh.
they wanted it to like give more than just like her getting bonged with like a fake axe. Yeah. Which I guess kind of worked, but also too, it just kind of seems like it's too like technical almost. Like, technical. I just hit the freaking microphone. It's too technical because like it doesn't happen at the same time, and you don't get like a wide shot. It's kind of like you get a shot of this and you can get a shot of that.
Yeah.
And then the axe
It's very
is okay.
choppy.
Yeah, that's the right word, is choppy. But after her very dramatic death, that's whenever I think we get Steve. We finally get to see where Steve's at. He's like at the diner or something. And he's talking to the lady behind the counter, and he's talking about going back, and she's telling him not to, I believe, right at this point, because it's like still storming really bad.
Yeah, and he was like, I have to get back to the counselors. They're
Yeah.
probably like completely lost out there. And I was like, well, you only have 3 left now.
Literally,
so-
you did lose them. And so we have that happening, and then simultaneously we have Brenda, who's gonna go get ready for bed or something. I'm assuming she's going to go brush her teeth and do all that. She gets her little green jacket.
She
and goes
ran
to the
out
restrooms.
because like strip poker got kind of shut down halfway because the door blew open.
That's right.
And so yeah, she just puts her little. I love that green jacket.
It was very
so
nice.
cute.
Yeah.
She
like a
just
raincoat.
puts it, raincoat on over her bra and panties, and then just like runs for
Runs
it,
out,
and
yeah.
then goes and gets her stuff.
Yeah, she's gonna get ready for bed, I'm assuming. She's doing all the nightly routine stuff, and that's same thing. Just like Miss Marcy, she kind of hears something in the restroom, and that's
good for
whenever,
her.
yeah, she's smart and doesn't
She's
go
like,
check it out
thank
because
you.
she kind of dips out. But before that, while she's still like looking and doing stuff in the mirror, we get this little hand that like comes up on around the shower curtain, and then it kind of goes away for a second.
Which
So
was pretty
contemplation on the murder, like, is this the moment, is this not? But then she ends up leaving too soon
Yeah.
for anything to happen, which I was like, oh yay, that's good for her.
Yeah,
And
I was
then
like,
right after
yeah,
that,
Brenda, good for you.
we get another reaction where Steve's like at his car and it won't start or something happens.
It's randomly breaking down.
Yeah, it's randomly breaking down, and he gets picked up by a cop, and then the cop is gonna take him to
Which gives
the
you
rest of the
kind of
way.
some false hope. Because
Yeah.
you're like, oh, they're
Maybe a
almost
cop's
there. He's got a
coming.
cop.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to be fine.
And then no, it's not.
Yeah.
Because after that, we have them.
Okay.
We go back to the camp, and that's whenever Brenda starts hearing shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, in Brenda's room was a sink. And so I was
So
like,
why would she need to go? all
why
the way
did
to
she
the
go to
restroom?
brush her teeth? Unless she was in,
Anticipating to take a shower.
yeah,
stuff.
and then was like,
Scared
no,
away by all
whenever
those
she heard
noises.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it could
maybe.
be.
But
Smart
I
girl.
was just like, why the hell she would go all the way over there? She's just brushing her teeth. There was a sink right there.
I don't even think she ever really did get to brushing her teeth. Did she?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because the water wasn't. She was having the same trouble that.
Yeah, but she went to the second sink,
Oh,
which
okay.
Marcy did fix.
Okay.
And then it did turn on.
Gotcha.
But she at least put something to her face.
And so we have all that happening. Then Brenda is back in the camp, one of the cabins area, and she starts hearing someone being like, "Help! Help!" outside, like a little kid saying, "Help me outside." And so
Most unconvincing help me
Yeah.
of my life.
and so obviously
I would have been like, nah.
she's
fuck you.
She goes to go check it out, and so it's leads
She
her all the
has
way.
a heart.
Yeah, and it literally takes her all the way back to the archery range, the arching range, and she's out there, and it's basically just a wide shot of her, like saying, "Is anybody out there?" and like in the rain, basically.
Yeah, I mean, it was coming down so hard that her hair was like getting
She's
in her
drenched.
face.
She's
She
soaked.
couldn't see
Yeah.
that. I mean, it was a wonder she could see anything.
Yeah.
Where she was walking.
Because we have all the lights turned on her, and that's whenever she's like, at this point, I feel like everybody keeps thinking someone's playing a joke on them. She's like, okay, guys, like this is, this is enough. And that's whenever we get like just a scream off camera.
Yep.
Right after that.
And it
so
flashes to Alice.
we're left to assume that she's dead, which we find out later. And yeah, it flashes to Alice and Bill, right? Or just
yeah.
Alice. No, she's making the coffee, isn't she?
Well, Bill came in and Alice was like, I heard a scream, and then she was like, and then all the lights at the archery
That's right.
range were turned on, and he looks out the window.
He can't see anything.
And he's like, I don't see anything. And then he was like, I'm going to go check on it. And then Alice says, can I go with you?
That's
Which I
right.
was like, good for you. Good for fucking
That's
you
right.
for not splitting up there. And they go and
They look around.
check on it. They go to the, what is it? They go to one of the cabins.
with the
And there's
cabin.
a little axe tucked into the bed.
Yeah, it's
They're
literally. I
sleeping.
think it's the cabin. Wasn't it the cabin that they were doing it in, where Ned was? I just think the
Probably.
body was all the bodies were moved.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, they go in there. They see the little bloodied axe, and I think that's when Alice is like, "What in the heck is going on here?" And Bill is still just like, "I don't know."
And then they didn't bring the fucking axe with them.
no, they didn't.
They
left
should
it.
have kept it. At least like
Yeah.
something
That
seems
and
fishy.
That's when we realize that the phones aren't working, as well the lines down. Then they go check the truck. The truck isn't working because obviously someone cut
fuel
some
lines
lines.
are
Fuel
also
lines were
cut.
cut. Yeah. So we're
Alice
getting
is like, let's hike out of here. And he was
Literally.
like, it's 10 miles.
Yeah.
And she's like, I don't fucking care. Let's get out.
Alice
and I was
knows
like,
something is wrong, and Bill is still just like, "All right, we're gonna figure this out." And
this
then
can all just
meanwhile,
be, we're going to laugh about it tomorrow.
later
he
in the
says.
morning, yeah, and then
And
gives her
it's
like a
like-
little on the cheek, which I thought was
Yeah.
weird. I was like, "That's
I
not
was
your
like,
girl."
But I feel like they had more chemistry than Steve did. I felt like Alice actually liked him.
Maybe,
I don't know. She gave me that.
but I thought Bill was with the other girl. Bill was with
Brenda was with Ned.
Brenda was with Ned. Alice had Steve, quote unquote. Marcy was with. I thought there was. Oh, you're right. I could have sworn I saw him with some other chick at one point, but it was just him. Him and Alice were the first two there.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the beginning. And so then after all of that,
Then it flashes back to the cop and Steve. And the cop is
Oh, that's
basically
right.
explaining, he's like, it's Friday the 13th.
And a
so
full moon.
Roll credits. And then, yeah, and a full moon. And he was like, basically, everyone just goes crazy at this point,
Mm-hmm.
And it always brings out the weirdos. We have the highest number of blah, blah, blah homicides.
yeah,
Wink, wink. And all these other things.
it's
So,
foreshadowing of like what's happening right now.
yeah.
basically.
You've got a fuck ton of homicides on your
Mm-hmm.
hands, sir.
And so we then get a call from 911 to the dispatchers to the cop, and the cop has to leave. He has to go take care of something else. So he drops off Mr. Steve at a certain point. I'm sure he's like right at the entrance to the
Yeah,
camp,
pretty
because
close,
it doesn't take
but
too
not
long.
quite all the way
We
in.
do see him running in.
Yeah.
And he comes to our little opening sign where it says Camp Crystal Lake to the entrance, and that's whenever he sees a light flash on, a flashlight, and he's like, "Oh my god!" And so he's like, "Who's that? Who's that?" And then he sees them, and that's this point. You can
He
tell they
recognized
recognize
yeah.
each other because he's like,
He's like,
"Oh,
"Oh,
hey, what are
hey."
you doing out here?"
And then
You get stabbed immediately.
And the
then it
sound
cuts.
was like, it actually made both Andrew and I jump a bit.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was like, whoa, okay.
I always thought it's so funny that it's like he's just like, "What are you doing here?" Oh,
Yeah.
and then it cuts away. Like
it
it's so
reminded me
fast.
very much of the first death, the first stabbing, like mid-sentence
Yeah.
and stuff. He was wearing yellow as well.
I was like, Steve is dead fast.
Yes, he was. I was
out.
like, oh, man.
He literally
that's all we
came
got?
back just to die.
Just to die.
And so we have the power is then out, right? Like it was already been kind of out, but like then like it's like out. Like at this
Yeah.
point, not even the backup generator is working, right? Because it goes
Yes.
out, because then it goes like pitch black.
Yeah,
and that's
they're, like,
whenever
trying to
Bill,
find
and that's
anything.
whenever Bill says, "I'm gonna go fix it," and that's
I was
whenever
like,
Alice
"Don't
is like,
split
"I want to
up."
go with you," but he's like, "No, you just stay here and go to sleep."
Get some
rest.
blah, blah, blah.
She did look really tired.
She did.
And so then we have Alice waking up. We get, we obviously get to see Bill like having this interaction going and like trying to get the generator fixed. And the whole time we're thinking like, yep, he's about to die. He's about to die.
And this is where I put the note, like, is the camera work supposed to be from the eyes of the killer or not?
just, yeah.
Because I was like, either some of these motherfuckers have zero spatial awareness or
Because he's literally right there.
yeah,
There's,
it like zooms in, like it's like the camera almost hits his face at one point.
Yeah.
And I was like, how you
I
know?
don't know. I think that's just how they chose to film it.
But
And I
then he
think-
obviously did die in that room or around
he
there.
died. We don't get to see it, but
Not
he
yet.
is dead because then we get Alice waking up
Bill.
and she's like freaked out. Yeah.
Mhm.
And we can assume it's probably been like 15, 20 minutes. She probably
Yeah.
knocked out and then was like, oh shit.
Had
I'm-
one of those where you're falling kind of dreams, but
I have those
with
all the time.
Bill dying, I
Yeah.
suppose, instead.
And so she wakes up. She's going to go looking for Bill. She ends up going to where the generator is. And it's the way that she opens the door and then closes the door. And then Bill is total Halloween style, where he's just pinned up on the door
With some arrows.
with some arrows. And she's freaking out. Obviously, he's pretty messed up.
Yeah. But how fun. It
Yeah.
was fun. I like
Yeah.
that part.
She freaks out, obviously, as anyone would. And that's when we get a whole her running out of there. She then goes to another cabin room, and that's whenever she's by the kitchen, or it's in the kitchen, isn't it? Because I remember she's by a fridge, and that's
No.
whenever we get what's her face getting
Yeah,
thrown.
because she's like trying to tie up the entrance and stuff. And
That's
in the
right.
most
This
like inefficient
door.
way possible.
She kept trying to build stuff up, and it was just like she's making a path of
Yeah,
like,
everything
mess.
just kept falling down, and I was like, "Girl, I think you got it with the string tied
that
to
was it
the
enough. Yeah.
tied to the roof thing."
Yeah, even then, I'm just like, she's only making more of a hazard for herself than she
Yeah,
is
I was like, she's possibly tying up the only exit.
to get out.
Because I was like,
And then I'm
I
thinking,
didn't
like,
know.
you're tying that shit up, but there's like windows,
And she closes one set of curtains,
Yeah.
but not the others. And then she does go exploring.
She's freaking out.
Yeah.
She's freaking out.
And I was like, okay, I guess
We'll give it
I
to her.
don't know what I would do in that situation either, but I was just like, what if the killer's already inside, girl? Like, come on.
The call is coming from inside the house.
Yep.
And so we have her.
Then she goes to the kitchen.
Going to the kitchen. She's kind of still. We just have her freaking out. It's funny because even the whole time she was putting all the chairs up and tying things, she keeps making these like noises, and I'm just like, oh, okay, like this is a lot. Anyways, and so
right before right before the window scene happens, she's like sitting there and she kind of slumps back against the fridge and she's like, what am I gonna do?
literally,
And it's
and
like
then a body flies right through the window.
It's
And
funny.
it ends up being Brenda. So we now know Brenda's officially dead because she gets thrown through the window right in front of her. And it's the way that Alice is just like mortified, just like looking at her the whole time and can't take her eyes off her and is just screaming. You know?
Yeah.
And nowhere at any point. And Alice doesn't even like, I mean, I'm sure she probably looked at it, but Alice doesn't even like try to
Like,
help
are
or
you
check
alive?
pulse or like
'Cause
anything.
there were a few moments where it looked
I
like
thought she
Brenda
looked like
was
she was
still
moving.
alive.
I thought she was moving.
There was multiple times where I was
Or
like,
it's just bad acting.
Brenda's still alive.
Just playing a
Yeah,
dead person, she's still
probably.
breathing. But like literally, I was like, wait, she's not even gonna check on her.
Yeah.
Like she just like leaves her.
This
That's
bitch dead.
literally. And so yeah, she gets out of there, and I think that's right after that she starts seeing the flashlight.
Yeah, she sees headlights.
The headlights. That's what it
And
is. She
she's
sees
like,
headlights.
She's like, Steve, oh my God, Steve. And I'm like, oh, that's
not
not
Steve.
Steve. And then this is where Mrs. Voorhees walks
Miss Voorhees
out.
comes out of the same Jeep that picked up Miss Annie. So
Annie.
already, like, okay, we know where this is going.
Yep.
We
and-
have her coming out, and already from the get go, you can tell something ain't right with Miss Voorhees.
Yeah, she looked kinda
she's a little
wild.
off. She got the crazy eyes,
Mhm.
and it's the way she's like telling Alice. She's like, I can't help you if you don't tell me what's going on. Stop, like crying. Stop, whatever.
She just wanted to hear what she had done back to her, probably.
Yeah.
And she says, like, I'm an old friend of Christie's. I've worked out
Christies,
here.
yeah.
I know. The Christies. Sorry. I know all about this place, but I can't help you. I can't help you.
Yeah.
And then at one point she was like, no, we can't go in there. And she's like, I'm not afraid. And I was like,
Literally, yeah.
Because you're the motherfucking killer.
Literally.
Bitch,
And so
you're
at
the
that
killer.
point, that's whenever we get the good old villain monologue and Miss
So she
Voorhees.
literally lets the killer into the building with her.
Literally. And she gets revealing basically everything, what happened with Jason and what happened all those other years were basically her trying to keep the camp from reopening.
I couldn't let this place reopen.
Yeah. So we have all that revealed by Mrs. Voorhees. And at that point, that's whenever Alice is just kind of like, I don't think she knows what the hell she's going to do. Yeah.
Especially when she goes, today was his birthday.
Yeah. And
he's
Alice already at that point is
Nope.
like, shit. And that's whenever we have the psycho moments, I believe, too. Whenever Mrs. Voorhees is like,
It's like flashing back to
talking in
Jason's
between.
drowning. And he's like, help me, mommy. And she's like, I will, Jason. I will. Yeah,
Yeah.
and you're getting this like double exposure happening.
It
with,
was given DID to me. I was like, she totally took on her son's persona as a traumatic,
which
like,
is actually, I mean, it's a relatively
personality.
common thing.
Yeah.
There was, I
As a
was listening
child.
to this one. I think it was like honestly like a zombie kind of story, like a real life zombie thing where someone died and then came back to life. But the whole time after the child's death, this mother was sitting there and had this alternate persona that was her kid because she couldn't let
cope.
go.
Yeah, she had to keep some sort of like.
And then I think the kid
tether.
came back. It's fucking weird. I don't know. I'll have
what
to find
story
that
this
and send
is.
that to you.
Yeah. It's giving story from the Bible. I'm just kidding. Resurrection.
Jesus said,
And so,
take
anyways,
on your child's persona.
literally. And so we have all that happening. We have then what got to be about 6-7 different fights between Mrs. Voorhees and Alice,
God,
leading
yeah.
up to the finale.
Andrew was getting pissed. He was
I
like,
was-
just fucking kill her.
Me too. I was like, is she not gonna like double tap at any point?
like,
or
girl,
like
you gotta double
keeps
tap.
just like knocking her out. And then this is at what point too for me, I was just like, is Alice the only person who had like some sort of fight in her? 'Cause No, you're telling me nobody else put up a fight with this
Tried
woman?
to at least do something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because she goes down surprisingly easy.
Multiple times. But then there was a
Multiple
certain point
times.
where she was like choking her. I was like, you know what? This bitch
Ms.
is strong.
Voorhees got some strength.
She got some strength in there. She's
Yeah.
been working up for this all year.
She's one of those moms that gets that
She goes to the
adrenaline,
mall.
lifts a car. Oh, yeah, she's power walking
She's
through the
been
mall.
like training
She
for this
looks like
day.
it with that cable net.
Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, we have quite a few different interactions between her and Alice, where they're fighting. There's a time when Alice hits her in the pantry with a pan, like a big old pan.
And she's
I
been
think
running
even
around.
before that, there was one before that. There's like 3 or 4.
She fights her, then she runs outside. She tries to get to the Jeep. She finds Annie's body. Then
That's
she's
right.
running. She finds Steve's. And then I just put,
and all that,
interesting.
and that, you know what? And that gave, I feel like I'm yelling, sorry, that gave Halloween vibes, especially whenever.
When he came out and he swung down.
Because all
yeah.
the bodies are like lined up for her to run into.
Ms.
Just like
Voorhees putting in the work,
Lori,
just like Michael
yeah.
did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then this is where it gets very, like, this is where you really see that she has taken on this alter ego.
Yeah.
And this gave me that very Norman Bates vibe, like
Mm-hmm.
talking to.
When you finally just lose it, she snapped. At this
Yeah.
point, it was all gone.
And that part was pretty good.
Yeah.
I liked it.
Oh, I like it too. I like the part where she was like kind of losing her mind. Like I
Like,
felt like
"Kill
it just
her,
makes the most
mommy."
sense with the character as well.
Yeah.
It had me cracking up a little bit at some points, but I liked
There
it.
were some points where I was like, that was a little
was
comical.
funny.
But there were some other parts where I was like, that was well executed.
Yeah.
That was, I mean, if I was in that situation, I'd be like, no, I think the fuck not.
Yeah.
Like, that's scary.
She was pissed off.
Yeah.
She still could not get over the death of her son, which actually, 57 and it's now 80. It's
Yeah.
been so many years.
like
since
20
then.
plus years.
Yeah,
20 years.
it's crazy.
Something. It's pretty wild. And then, but so Alice has found a room and she's got a gun and she's about to break this
Oh,
gun,
that's
trying
right.
to open up the cabinet
I
to
thought
get the
that was
bullets.
literally the way she was banging that thing against the channel.
I
I'm
was
like,
like,
that's
it's not
not
gonna
going
be
to work. That's
useful.
not going to happen.
Yeah.
You're not going to get it open that way. And then finally we have Mrs. Voorhees coming in anyways and then just like snatches the gun from her.
And this is where she says the kill her, mommy.
Yeah.
And she's like, I will. And I was like, ooh.
And then it all ultimately leads up to them getting to the docks, getting to the boat area. And then finally Miss Voorhees comes towards Alice with the machete and they're fighting. And then finally
Oh yeah.
Alice gets the machete from her.
Yeah.
And they're
All this
doing a
time,
little fighting. So even more so.
hardcore.
Like, yeah,
fighting.
they're basically like punching each other. They're throwing each other down.
And
they're
you're right.
choking each
Yeah,
other.
she did hit her with the cast iron pan.
She had hit
she
her
should
with
have
the cast iron
She
pan.
should have double tapped her then,
A
and
lot
she
of-
should have hid behind in that bush longer before she went to the dock.
Yeah, that's true.
If she would have hid there longer, I feel like she wouldn't have been noticed.
Made in contact
Yeah.
with her. And I guess it is important to say that a lot of these actors were actually stage actors. A lot of them didn't have like experience like in theatrical roles or on screen roles. They were like stage actors. So that's why I feel like a lot of this acting throughout the movie too, it's very like dramatic. Like
Yeah.
we're performing for the people in the back of the crowd.
Alice had that one line at the beginning whenever she goes to meet Bill and asking about like the thinner, and she goes, I don't even know if I'll make it all week.
Yeah.
That
yeah.
one, I was like, ooh, girl.
Overacting a
Come
little
on.
bit, but it's because they're stage actors.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
And so yeah, I felt like a lot of this is very theatrical in the sense of the stage theatrics.
Also, the way Ms. Voorhees was swinging this machete
And
half the times
and
was the
yeah,
silliest thing.
Silly.
I was like, girl,
But I
Dude,
loved her
how'd you
performance,
kill
man.
people with that?
And then finally we get the ultimate scene where Alice grabs a machete and then just whoosh, like a baseball bat chops off Mrs. Voorhees' head, and it's very comedic in the way too that
I
this
love
is shot.
it. The head, like, it looks like it like kind of exploded off.
Yeah.
It was like boom, and then her hands are like up in the air.
The dude that the way that they had the fake head on top of a stunt double's body, and they had it attached with toothpicks. That way it
Oh.
would really just like
On a
fly
stunt
off.
double's body?
yeah.
Where was
well,
the
like on
rest
some
of his-
prosthetics. Like
Oh.
it's like he had like a something on top of his head.
Oh,
holding that
okay.
on. Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like,
Not just like in his skin.
I
Yeah.
was imagining
With pins and needles.
I was imagining him just like leaning his head like,
And just holding it like this.
yeah, or
Gritted
like
cheese.
it's just like balancing on his like shoulders, or
Yeah.
his like pecs. You
The
know,
power of practical effects, man. A toothpick. It can keep your chimichanga together and your flautas together when you're frying them, and also hold on a fake head.
Yum.
And so we have, her
To the
head flies
chimichangas.
off. We got blood and bone, and then she just falls to the floor basically. And then we
Mhm.
have Miss Alice then finally making her way to the boat, and she gets in one of these little canoes and starts, getting herself
Paddling.
to the. Which also at that point I don't understand why she would get in the boat and get to a middle of a lake when you
Wait.
just killed the killer.
Yeah, you just killed the killer. You should be safe. I mean, I
you
guess
took
she
the head off.
doesn't know if there's
Maybe.
a second
Yeah,
one
that's
out
true.
there. So she doesn't know. So I guess that would be the safest spot.
And that's whenever we get, like you said, it's now daytime by this point.
Mhm.
We have the music,
Cops rolling
the
up.
music playing of, it's more cinematic, or
Mhm.
I don't know what the word is from the rest of the movie. But the rest of the movie was like very like jarring, scary music, and this is supposed to be peaceful, tranquil,
Yes.
giving you like this is the
Mhm.
happy end of the movie. And then she's in the lake. We have her then noticing that the coppers are coming because she hears the sirens, and as soon as she kind of like props up and looks over there at them, we have a very muddy and wet Jason Voorhees hopping young, like a kid version, jumping out of the water and
Mhm.
grabbing her and pulling her into the water
Yeah.
out of the boat.
Just when you think all
Just
is
when you
safe.
think it's over.
Yep.
And that's when we then get like I'm assuming it's a dream sequence,
Yeah.
right? But she wakes up, comes to you in the hospital, and that's when they're asking her all these questions, like, or she's asking questions. Sorry, she's like, "Are they all dead?"
Mhm.
And then he's
Did you
like,
find
"Yeah."
the boy?
And she's like, "Did you find the boy?" And he's like, "What boy?" And she's like, "Jason, the boy who drowned." And he's like, "Jason,
The boy in the water.
Yeah. And so she's like, "That means he's still out there."
And he's still there. And it
Yeah.
doubles exposures back to the lake. And then it
hmm
then settles on the lake and we pan in.
Yeah. It's a
And
beautiful, like,
credits.
sun glistening on the water type of
Mhm.
scene. And that's it. And that's 1980s Friday the 13th.
Fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was good. I hadn't seen it in a really long time. Like
I
since
totally,
was,
I
like,
was telling Mike, I
middle
forgot
school. I
that
think
the like hockey mask thing
he's
wasn't
not
even a part of this.
He doesn't even come in. I think
till
until
the
the
third.
third one.
Mhm.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
which is like what everyone thinks about when they think of Jason and Friday the 13th. And it's like
Yeah.
literally wasn't even a thing until
which
the
is
third one.
so like crazy to me to think about, because like when it comes to like horror movies, like Jason is so synonymous with like horror. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And
He's
to think
one
that,
of the big,
yeah,
like
to
one
think
of the
that
greats
he didn't even enter his own franchise until like the third movie.
until the third film.
Yeah. And it's
So wild.
This horror franchise too, Friday the 13th, they literally had 8 movies come out in the 10 years of the decade of 1980 to 90. They had 8 movies come out.
That's too many.
Yeah, it really is. But they had one, they did 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, I believe, went to 85 and then went to like 88, 89, and then
You'd think Wes Craven was in on this.
for real, got himself a franchise. It's cash grab. But yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna rate this.
Me neither.
To be honest,
I don't know.
I
I asked Andrew. He goes 1.5.
yeah, I watched it with Robert. He didn't care for it either. He thought it was funny. He was like, "Is this a comedy?" I
Yeah.
was like, "No."
There was one point where Andrew like kind of started tapping his foot, and I was like, "You good?" He's like, "They just make me anxious," and I was like,
Yeah, this is just people making dumb choices. But
Mhm.
that's what you wanted.
"It
in a horror
did get
movie.
much better towards the end.
Yeah.
Not as like that opening
I
scene."
think I think
I
the
could've done
biggest
without that.
issue and qualm that I had with the movie, and it's not necessarily that it was bad, it's just that I feel like there was a lot of extra footage that could have been cut out that wasn't necessarily driving the plot anywhere.
Yeah.
Like having a 3-minute scene of her making coffee like wasn't exciting to watch.
No.
So if it was just a little
I guess it makes
condensed,
you feel
maybe,
safe enough and you don't
like
know
the
when it's going to
tension,
happen.
like the release
yeah.
of tension and like regular and getting back to spooky. I just feel like if they maybe cut out like a good 20-ish minutes of extra whatever, it would be really solid.
Yeah.
But other than that, you know what? I'd give it like a 2.
A 2. Wow.
I'd give it a 2
Yeah.
out of 5.
Why is that? Because of everything you just
You know,
said.
I give it a 2. You know what? I give it a 2022 2. I give it a 1983 and
Okay,
a half,
there we
if
go.
that makes sense. Because I need to remove myself from like where we are now and what we've seen and what is all made fun of this and graphics and where we are. Where if I was watching this in 1980, probably like 11 or 13 years old, it probably would have spooked me out.
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah.
And I mean, at that
And for a lot of
those
people,
times,
that's when they watch this.
Yeah.
So this movie holds like
it's like
that
special.
gravitas.
I know. I feel
I don't
like
wanna
we'll
shit
get
on
like
someone's
burned
favorite.
at the
Yeah.
stake for having any other opinion that this film was great. And I do, like we talked about earlier, the cultural like significance, the impact. This film is iconic.
Yeah.
It
The amount of references that are in pop culture and
Yeah.
everywhere else, like in a Nicki Minaj song.
yeah,
It's Friday
so
the
many
13th.
things.
Guess who's playing Jason?
Yeah.
Come on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And man, what is it with them? Because Cardi B had the Nightmare on Elm Street bathtub scene in
that's right.
her Thought Shit
Yeah.
music video.
Yeah.
And so
No, that's
Megan Thee Stallion.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Anyways,
The
it-
amount of
it
references, the
does
amount of influence.
hold such a like big place in pop culture. But I feel like more so
the way
just
Caitlin, you're about to give it a 1.
Jason. No. I was honestly thinking 3.
3.
In like the mindset, like you said, I was in
Having to
1980.
take yourself back. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because overall, like it did get better towards the end. And I was like, okay, some of these practical effects were really good. There were a bunch of scenes where I was just laughing. But
Yeah.
I'm me
Not mad at
now.
it.
I'm
No.
not then. If I would have seen it when it came out, I probably would have been like, this was good. And I loved the twist because
it
everyone
being the
going
mom.
in, yeah. And
Yeah.
people forget. And like, that's why in Scream, what was it? 4, the one with what's her face?
Jill, her
Mhm.
cousin, Emma Roberts.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then they're like, the girl, the cheerleader from Heroes.
Oh.
That's the question that got her killed.
Oh, fuck. What's her name?
Yeah.
Hayden Panettiere. What's her name in
Yes.
the movie? Kirby.
Kirby. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is she, she's gonna be in Scream 6.
Oh, she is?
Yep, Scream 6.
Good.
Yep.
I was really kind of sad that she
Um,
didn't come back into 5.
Well, yeah. Nev Campbell's not coming back for 6
Really?
or 7. Which I mean, I'm
guess.
torn because it's like I get it. Like her story's kind of like, what more can you do with that story?
Yeah.
But I feel like it's not a Scream movie without Nev Campbell in some
Yeah.
sort of way. But you know, we're gonna let it.
Dewey's dead now.
We're gonna let it figure out. I know. So the next movie,
Monica.
Monica.
What's her real name?
Oh God, Monica. She's gonna be the center, supposedly, of the newer movie.
Okay.
It's gonna be Gail Weathers centered, which I'm not mad at.
Yeah.
I like a good.
I
Gail
would
Weathers.
watch the Gail Weathers
Yeah.
show. But yes, that was the question that she got wrong
Oh yeah.
because they were like, who was the killer in
Yeah.
Friday the 13th, the original? And she was like,
Well, that's
Jason.
even at the beginning of the original Scream with
Oh,
Casey.
yeah.
Remember, she does that. She does. I think that's what you're thinking of.
Oh, maybe.
Because it's with Drew Barrymore. Remember, she's on the phone.
Yeah.
He's like, she's like, that's a trick question.
That's true. Yeah, I feel like
but
I feel like Kirby got it
also
wrong too.
had
or she got
also
something wrong.
had that whole thing happen.
She had
with
to
her as
think a
well.
little too long, and technically answered correctly, but
She still ended up losing.
Yeah.
because she got stabbed.
she got stabbed,
But yeah.
but not dead.
So is it a 3?
Yay. Yeah, I'll give it a 3, but like you said, I'll give it a 2.5 from today. No, yeah, I'll just give it a 3.
A 3.
because-
I'll give it a 3 as well.
I did enjoy it.
Yeah.
I fell asleep the first time I was watching it, but I think I
I
was
liked
just
learning
also
about
very
it.
tired.
I like learning about what went into it.
Yeah,
and
reading on the facts and stuff, that was
and
super
knowing
fun.
like and I think that's always the fun part of these movies is like getting to know like what actually went into the production. Because especially with this one too, like
You have to be so much more creative back then.
and especially now itself, being the staple that it is, everything that went into it. And also, like you just said, yeah, you do have to be more creative because everything now is like we've seen it all. It's derivative of something or someone's thought of it. So back then,
And
these were
people
all
get more
just-
money. They don't
Yeah.
have to recycle their leaves like they did in Halloween,
That's true.
picking up all the little fall
It's
foliage.
true. It's true. But yeah, overall, you guys, your boobies give 1980s Friday the 13th OG a 3 out of 5 boos.
Yeah.
Yes, it's
It's a classic.
a classic. If you're really
It's
into horror,
worth
I
the
feel like you
watch.
can't not say you are without watching it. To
Mhm.
BH, I feel like even if you hate it, you gotta at least
You have to have at least
watch
seen
it.
it.
Yeah, just to know even
To understand
to
any
understand
reference that happens
That's
in
exactly what
other
I mean. Like
films.
that, literally the amount of
Because
references.
there was this one film I was watching on Shudder that I think it might have actually been a series with one of the ones where, nope, it was a horror anthology kind of one.
Mhm.
And there was a bunch of different little like shorts.
Yeah.
And one of them was like, could have been like cut for cut
Yeah, for
from
sure. Or even
Friday the 13th.
even American Horror Story season 9, Camp 1984
Oh,
or
yeah, I
whatever.
didn't get to see that one.
That one is literally
It's just Friday the
this
13th.
movie, but expanded into like 9 episodes. Yeah, literally. Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah.
Well, so this one, we chose it, like we said earlier, because it's summertime and, you know, you might be
Yeah.
at camp. Who knows? You're doing campy things. You're going camping.
I went to church camp like 3 summers in a row.
Yeah.
I hated it,
I
but
also
my
did.
family sent me.
I had to get stitches once. I fell out of a tree.
Mm.
I had to get like 9 stitches in
Yeah.
my knee. Super fun. But to stay on trend with the kind of summer-esque feeling and
Mm-hmm.
vibes, we are going to do Midsummer.
Midsommar.
Next.
Yes,
Yay. My favorite
Yeah.
movie from 2019, hands down.
Directed by Ari Aster. Right?
Mhm.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Not even just horror film. This was my favorite film of 2019.
And Ari Aster is the same person who directed Your Next, right? He's tied to it somehow. If I
Somehow, yeah.
don't remember
He
correctly.
did Hereditary as well.
That one too, which we
So-
will be covering some point as well.
Yes. Oh, because so good. But yeah, the little. But so if you have seen this film, I feel like this is one of those ones, kind of like Get Out was, where even if you don't really necessarily like horror, you maybe have seen this film, and
Yeah.
it probably fucked you up too.
Yeah.
But so if you want to talk to us about that, you can please do so whenever. Yeah.
Yeah, please do so. Please
On
reach
our
out to us on
socials.
our social media, which is only one platform at this moment. It's on Instagram, and that is at Boobaes Podcast, BOOBAES, because we're your Boobaes, not your Boobabes.
And you can let us know what you thought about Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
Or any of the franchise,
Or
anything
please
like
send
that.
us some recommendations if you have a summer movie, horror movie
Yeah.
that you feel we should cover.
Because we've
and-
got like a list that we can choose from, but neither of us have like a real good like, this is my favorite summer horror
Yeah.
film, because not a lot of them take place
during
in
the
the
summer.
summer.
Yeah, it's kind of a specific niche.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we're so excited to be doing this, and we are in once again the lovely, like we mentioned earlier, Rogue Media Network Studios.
Mm-hmm. They always
The new
take great
studios,
care of
yeah,
us.
looks really great. And we also implore you to check us out on all of your favorite streaming platforms, wherever that may be. One of the 2 major ones being either Apple Podcast or
Spoofy.
Spotify.
And wherever you do listen, please don't forget to rate
Review
and subscribe.
and like it.
That's right.
Share it.
It's the only way we can get ahead in life. Tell your friends, tell
Tell
everyone.
your family members.
Make
go
this
to the
a cult.
cemetery. Perform seances. tell
Bring
the
people back
ghosts.
to life to
Please.
listen to this.
That would have been a good cue in for like Evanescence to like make a little.
Bring me to life.
Mhm. Wake me up.
Wake me up inside.
There you go. It's perfect. But anyway,
I was not about to hit those notes right now.
Yeah. Is that all today?
That is.
That's it.
That
you
is.
guys. All right.
I
all
gotta
right.
go eat.
Bye. Yeah. Bye,
bays.
bays.
This has been a Rogue Media podcast.
Experiences are what people love the most about travel. That's why they love Viator. They have over 300,000 bookable experiences and something for everyone. Plus, their travel experiences have millions of real traveler reviews, so you have the information you need to book the best activities for your trip. Download the Viator app now and use code Viator10 for 10% off your first booking in the app. One app, over 300,000 travel experiences you'll remember. Do more with Viator.